Well, I walked into the workshop and our plan is all over the place.
Our plan, that might be a metaphor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, you made another mold.
Made another
Or
neck.
you made another
Yes.
neck. Is this the one for the water tank?
This is for the diesel
Oh,
tank.
this is for the diesel tank.
Yeah.
This is for the water tank.
Exactly. Welcome back, everybody. The work continues here. Last week we've added some fiberglass to the diesel tank and the water tank, namely just by glassing over the bilge. And Maya made some partitions underneath the settees, which was pretty awesome. I'm excited to have those in place. And the other really big item was installing the new foam in the galley. Now I will continue prioritizing working on the water tank because we would like a sole board again and a place to walk around on more comfortably. So yeah, getting the tanks further along is a priority.
Wow, for the first time in a long time, it actually smells like an old boat in here. You know, like that kind of diesel-y kind of smell. It smelled like that when we first got the boat, but then we did a really deep clean and it didn't anymore. But now that the diesel tanks are wide open, I guess it's inevitable.
So we have fiberglass tanks and they are integral part of the hull. That is one big benefit of a full keel boat. I like making use of that space. So I really like having the tanks be not part of the keel, but they are underneath the waterline, and yeah, there's a lot of volume to fill there, which is not very accessible in other means. Of course, there's downsides to any kind of tank, but I really like that in this way they don't take up space underneath the settees. One thing that I'm changing is the way things access the tank, the vent, the fill, and all the ports. Instead of having them scattered all over the top with different fittings, I want to combine them all in one place, in one location, by creating a fiberglass raised neck. It also doubles as an inspection plate. I especially like that design for the diesel tank, because if you have flush hatches on top of the tank, like we did before, those can break, they can leak, and things go straight into the diesel tank. Same with the water tank, which holds drinking water. So that's just an added level of safety and leak-proofness. I degrease before I start sanding, I degrease in between, and I degrease afterwards. Soap, acetone, everything all at once. Degreasing is really important to making sure that you get adhesion. And after that, it's also roughening it up to get good mechanical adhesion as well.
Questions I could conceive, but like a child falling back to no arms underneath, I dropped into the unrelenting world of in-between. Behind the questions there's a...
Oh yeah, it's really good. That's the clickbait, babe.
Nice, it's a whole time lapse.
sentence in between the lines. In my heart, I
At the moment, it's a bit of a jungle gym. There is no ladder going into the boat and there is no floor to stand on. But as soon as the tanks are done, we can build all of that back up and have a nice way to access the boat again. This is where the neck is going to be placed. And I made some wood filler to have a little bit of a cove. So I'm going to apply some now. All the components that are part of the water tank, we're actually using an FDA food grade epoxy. So that one's done. Now it's going to be the same procedure for the diesel tank. You get the idea, and the diesel tank's going to be a little more accessible. So that's cool. And so while I'll be working on the tanks, Maya will be tabbing in the partitions that she has prepared for the lockers. It's actually pretty awesome to have somebody working alongside and creating these parts that I knew all along we wanted to have in place, but I just didn't take the time to do them yet. So yeah, win-win.
Deanie and I are usually pretty good at taking things one step at a time, not getting too overwhelmed. But in the last episode, we both hit probably the lowest point we've ever reached with this project. We're in the middle of it now, far from the excitement of the start, and also far from the satisfaction of the end. But we are building back up, and we're both starting to get back into the rhythm of things. It's all starting to look a lot more possible. There's still a colossal amount of work ahead, but I think our perspective on what lies ahead is looking a bit rosier. It's one step at a time, one little tab of fiberglass at a time.
I feel like this time around we are making the most progress. Many things have been prepared and mulled over and thought about for the longest time.
Sanding things all day is pretty much my daily normal here in the boatyard, which means that a refit like this is never really just about the physical work. It's a mental journey just as much. It's the belief in a greater future. It's the frustration in the tedium of the present. And it's the questioning if your past decisions were sound. And one day, if all goes well, it's a deep thankfulness towards your past self, the one that worked really hard to make the dream come true.
The reality is that there's just stuff happening everywhere. It's a little less ideal for the videos, but that's the reality of it. Sometimes I have to wait for the warmer temperatures midday to do a fiberglassing job, so I'll be preparing something different. I don't just focus on one thing, but I have many things open and I change from one to the other. Sometimes my wrist hurts, so I'm not doing things that promote it. Things need to be ordered, things need to be thought about, measured. It's always many things happening. Of course, the biggest priority is to get the boat ready for the water and to get everything structural done and the boat waterproofed, which means fiberglassed over. So the thing right now is that it still is cold. So we're taking advantage of that to also get the interior along a little further, and soon hopefully we'll get to all the other things as it warms up. All of the fiberglassing jobs on the exterior, they will come together relatively quickly once the weather starts warming up a little bit.
This piece of paper keeps falling off the boat and leaving the tape behind, which is the weird thing. It's like coming out from under the tape.
Gods are against
Okay, oh my gosh, Aladino's been watching a Viking movie. They all talk like that.
Well, I walked into the workshop and our plan is all over the place.
Our plan, that might be a metaphor. What you doing, Dini?
Just preparing the galley floor, galley sole, so that we can put it back in there.
We're gonna have a floor again.
Yes.
I'm so happy.
Not quite today yet, but without this cutout it wouldn't fit, because this is where the new tank neck is. But yeah, step by step.
Yay. Step by step, and we can slowly take steps again.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3.
A project that has been quietly going on in the background is removing all the old layers of paint and fairing compound on the cabin top. We're going to cover the whole exterior with a new layer of fiberglass, with epoxy this time instead of polyester.
She's been thinking life ain't given her what she needs. What could make her happy is always out of her reach. Hey, somebody's gotta help me. But she could not see that everything she wanted was inside of her heart, but she wouldn't give it away. No, she wouldn't give it away.
I saw a little weather window which could allow for something really huge and amazing and exciting, but that is tomorrow, so no promises that it can actually happen. But yeah, what I'm thinking of is glassing the decks. It's a really big task, and it still requires some prep work, so I don't know if I will get it ready for tomorrow. So what is actually missing is sanding this part where we still had glass last time, which we removed now, so there's still yeah, it's not smooth yet, and also the corner here. Is it a corner also if it's inside out? This is a corner. What is this?
That's also a corner.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm too confused with terms, coves and fillets and yeah, all these things. Anyway, so I envision right now the first step will be glassing bulwarks and deck to somewhere around here. And then later on we do the sides over top of the glass from the decks. So for now I just need to prep this area. There still is a bit of epoxy where we put in the screws that is proud. The cove here needs to be sanded. Starboard is all done. I'm hurrying from here all the way aft, and then maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, I would start laying some cloth and cutting that to shape and size and figure out a game plan of yeah, how to do it exactly.
I've been holding on to a river, holding on to the breeze.
Fiberglassing the decks would be a really huge step, but glassing over such a large area definitely requires the right temperature, so we'll just have to see how much it warms up tomorrow. Meanwhile, I used my new templating skills that I learned last week to build partitions for our port side settees.
Shaking your fist at the sky. She's an ocean of a woman. You're just a casualty caught in the tide. I'm still holding on to my river, sweeping the darkness with a broom, making love to my past life. I'm still shadow dancing with you.
What are you working on, Dean?
I am preparing the fiberglass for the decks. Big fiberglass kebab. It's not a thing over here. In Europe, this big thing spins and then you shave off and then you put it into a wrap. Yeah, but it's meat usually, not fiberglass. Can you tell that I'm getting hungry? Oh my god, 14 yards. What the hell are yards now?
Isn't a yard the closest to a meter?
Yeah, it is, but it still is not a meter. I thought I had inches and feet figured out. Now there's yards. 40 feet. Our boat is 36. Ah, perfect.
Oh, that was all the math needed.
Scissors. Baby glass.
This is heavy glass, hey?
It's 20 ounce. It's more about the type of glass, because you can have 20 ounce roving, you can have 20 ounce biaxial. I have actually chosen to go with triaxial. With this one, worst case scenario, if I would sand through, I sand through one layer only because it's stitched on, so all on the top is the same direction, and then I still have defense, so to speak. I don't know, but yeah, stitched is much better anyway for structural things, and especially if you're using epoxy. And I'm not doing things overkill. I actually get my specs from a book called Boat Strength by Dave Jur, and he has some really amazing calculations where you can apply the formula of what boat you're working on, because you have to put in the length and the width and those kind of parameters, and then his formula spits out what glass, what weight of fiberglass is recommended over plywood decks. And I always compare many things because I thought like, whoa, these decks are overkill being 1-inch plywood. But then I look at his book and the formula and you get to 1-inch plywood. So yeah, things seem to work out. Now it's time to massage and place and plan and shove and then cut. lamination.
Oh boy.
Can you lift the roll from your side, please?
Yes.
Easier.
Like just lift it?
Yeah, just roll up the slack. Oh, nicer. That's better. Fun is over. Bye-bye.
Oh.
I'm gonna continue on the table now, which is actually flat and doesn't have a cabin top on it. Right? And then look at this. Here they're on this way. And underneath that one, there's a layer going that way.
Cool.
It's also the one that lays the flattest, because the strands, they're bundled together, but then they're kind of squished flat. So this also requires less fairing, which is nice. Yeah, I think I'll be happy with this. I was pretty excited about that fabric, but I ran into a challenge, and that is the way the mat is stitched together, and because it has the fibers running in 3 directions, it's really not pliable or shiftable very much. So I actually ended up having to cut it to make it fit. My initial idea was I would have loved to have the unidirectional fibers going all the way along the side decks, but since the side decks are curved, I couldn't get them to curve.
So if all goes well, we are actually going to go forward with fiberglassing the decks tomorrow. It's the first somewhat warm day that's been in the forecast all year. So we'll see if it's actually warm enough. It's a little borderline, so we're both a little unsure still. But that's going to be a huge moment if we actually manage to get that done, because the decks have been such a massive part of this entire refit. In a way, the decks and the bulwarks on top of them sort of created all the problems that we've spent all this time fixing. So to be able to close them up and waterproof them after replacing half the deck beams and all of the blocking and part of the deck, it's going to be a really big moment. So hopefully in the next episode we'll be able to show you that, but at the moment we're still not quite sure.
Cheers. Is that enough decanting for a boatyard?
I really like this lamp.
It is a cool lamp.
Imagine when we're out sailing in some beautiful place and we're like in this gorgeous anchorage and we hang this over us in the cockpit.
Totally.
Over a beautiful home-cooked meal in our lovely galley.
Beautiful.
There's this whole trend on TikTok at the moment. You're gonna hate this, but just wait. I'm going to a good place.
That's not the way to introduce it.
No, there's this whole trend of like romanticizing your life, where you just take like the mundane things in your life, but make them a little bit nicer, like a little bit more cinematic.
Yeah.
And the idea is to sort of just find beauty in like the normal mundane things, and then plus post it on social media.
That's what I do for a year. Showing joy of sanding fiberglass.
But anyhow, I feel like taking the boatyard, which is like this very utilitarian space, and creating like little moments of beauty in it beyond just like the beauty that you're creating every day, which is a lot. You are, like, no lie.
Yeah, nice moments outside. You can go to Port Townsend. Have a nice dinner.
I don't know, I think both. Nice moments everywhere. Why restrict yourself? There's still a long way to go, but I know that we'll get there. And now, time to cross off what we've accomplished this episode. So the galley, we have now faired it, so I can cross off that part. Still to do is prime and paint and, well, a lot of other things, but fairing is done for now. Where else are we? The deck, sanding everything, including the cabin top. We're not entirely done with this, so I can't quite cross it off yet, but we're really well on the way with this one, and that will be great once that's finally all done. But Aladino did fair the cabin sides and deck in preparation for the glass, so I think we can cross off the fair part. We wrote prime here because, well, you were thinking of doing epoxy primer potentially on the cabin sides, but that's still to be determined, and that's another thing. So, over here for the saloon tanks and mast step, we've designed the tank inputs and outputs. So well done, Aladino. And you've fiberglassed the tanks.
Wow.
And I think that that's everything for this week. But that's huge.
Nice.
Yay. All right, and next week, we might only get to cross one thing off if we can manage to fiberglass the whole decks, but that's a big one. So it counts for double, if not triple. We will see. All right, see you all next week, everyone. As always, thank you for watching. Extra big thanks to our patrons for making this all possible. Every Tuesday or Wednesday, we post a real-time, very informal vlog on Patreon where we walk you through the real-time updates to what's happening on the boat, talk about some of the decisions we have facing us. So if that sounds at all interesting and you'd like to help keep the channel alive, you can do so for as little as $2 a month. And that's what allows us to keep going, allows us to avoid, like the corporate sponsorship and all of that. So we really, really appreciate it so much. An extra big thanks to the folks whose names are now appearing on screen, who always go the extra mile to make sure that Magic Carpet keeps being produced. We'll see you all next Friday.
See you next Friday.